będzie nasza plana.
Hi guys, we wanted to do a video tonight about whether or not it is controlling to not allow your children to watch television or to use any kind of electronics for entertainment purposes. Our daughter has always been around the TV and using an iPad since she was very, very young, and it was just something easy for us to do as parents. Just put her in front of the TV or give her her iPad to play on, and she has had her own iPad since she was 2 that she would play games on, and then later she watched shows on. We ended up getting rid of our TV because we just did not want to immerse ourselves in that anymore. With her, we sort of made the transition a little bit slower, so she still had shows on her iPad that she was watching after we got rid of our TV. So we do not watch TV anymore. She does not have any games on her iPad. She doesn't have shows on her iPad, and the only thing she uses it for is to pretty much, she takes pictures sometimes, and then she talks to our family in Illinois back and forth. They message, like my mom and his grandparents and stuff like that. So that's the only thing she uses it for, which we're trying to limit her time on that as well. While some people think that that is controlling, especially because of our parenting, we've mentioned how we parent before, which we see our daughter as an equal to us. We very strongly value her opinion and her thoughts on everything, and we do not see ourselves as the authority. That doesn't mean we're her guides, but that doesn't mean we just sit back and let her do whatever she wants. That's not what a guide is. We see it as more, we're here to try and give her the best start that we can before she is old enough to make those decisions for herself. And one of the things that we really noticed when she was watching TV was just the way that she acted. She would see something on TV and then she would act out pretty much the same way. She was just mimicking it. So while some people are like, oh, you don't let your daughter watch TV, that's horrible, you know, what does she do, things like that, we see it more as we want her to be able to be, like, grow up and be herself, not let something else influence her, which, I mean, all types of those kind of entertainment outlets completely influence them and shape who they end up becoming. But then that's why you reach a certain point and you're confused about things, because it's not really who you are, it's who you have been brainwashed to be, pretty much.
Right. I mean, anything that has the word entertainment on it isn't something that we partake in at all. Entertainment we don't see as something that's actually enjoyable and fun. It's something that is being put out by who is creating it for a specific reason. Tain means to contain or to hold, and that's exactly what entertainment is. It holds you in a certain place. And when children are watching TV, playing these games that are about the TV shows, they all go along with pretty much the same thing. Is they're teaching kids emotions that they don't need to exhibit and know at all because they're not doing them naturally. And because of that, it confuses them because they're so young and they don't quite get what's going on in front of them. So they start to just do it. They do exactly what they're shown in the TV shows.
I want to say one thing about that. When we were potty training her, she was watching TV like a lot at that time, and there was a show on Disney Junior that she watched a lot, and it was about a little girl who would, the mom and dad would ask, do you have to go to the bathroom before we leave? And she would say no, that she didn't have to. And then she would end up in the situation where they were out, and she would say, I have to go really bad, I have to go, I have to go. And the mom would say, you know, like, well, I asked you if you had to, why didn't you go? And then the point of the whole show is that the grandma is like a superhero, and she comes in and brings the little girl, and they find a bathroom just in time. So she just makes it to the bathroom before she wets her pants. So what was happening with our daughter was she was watching this, and she had been potty trained like all during the day, and she wasn't having like accidents or anything like that. And then all of a sudden I noticed that she would start like wetting her pants, and we found out, she told us that it was because she was watching the show Nina Needs to Go, and she wanted to be like that show. So she was holding her pee, and then she, you know, nobody was coming to swoop in and help her, so she was ending up like wetting her pants. So it just shows how influential the shows really are and how serious the kids take them.
Right, I mean, it's even at a younger age when kids even can't really talk, they're watching these suggestive themes, which I see these kid shows sometimes when I'm at work, and they're really horrible what they show in them. They show sexism between males and females, they're separating each other, they're different types of people, they have different emotions. The male's not supposed to feel like the female, which was in Paw Patrol, which are dogs. So they're portraying it with dogs, but it makes no difference. It just makes the kids more attracted to it because they're little dogs. There's a lot of anger that's portrayed in shows a lot. That's why kids get angry. They're exhibiting it, so they're doing what they're seeing. When we take stuff in with our eyes, it is the same as us eating. We're consuming it. So what we consume with our eyes ends up coming out through our body. Just like when we consume something that's not good through our mouth, it comes out in our body. It's the same thing with all of our senses. So we have to take care of what we're consuming with all of our senses. And when we're consuming these shows that are not made for good purposes, really, that the children hurt from this in the end. And it's usually because the parents see it as an easy way for them to be entertained, which is exactly what's going on. They're being entertained. They're not even really having fun. If you watch them, they're sitting there with their mouth open, staring at the TV. They're hypnotized by it, which that's the point of TV. It literally hypnotizes you no matter how old you are. Video record yourself watching a TV show. You'll be sitting there with your mouth open at some point, not blinking. And it's the same for all ages, no matter how old you are, but we see it as it's our responsibility to allow our child and children to be able to grow up as freely as possible from all these influences around them. Because it's all over the place. It's way more than just on TV and in computers and games and stuff. I mean, it's literally ingrained into our society to be competitive, to be sexualized, to be demeaning, and to be different male and female, when we're really not that different, even from one another. We have the same feelings. We exhibit them differently, but it all comes from the same place. And when we're taking in all these different things from all different angles, it completely changes who we actually are, and it confuses us later in our life.
Right. And one thing with her is like the way that we parent, that it's not authoritative and we value her opinion. Like we said before, we always explain everything to her, like why we don't partake in, you know, like watching TV or doing these kinds of things that she used to do, because it is hard when you're so used to doing them for so long, especially when you're a kid, because it was confusing in the beginning in the first place, and then, you know, it's being taken away from you. But we haven't noticed anything like that she misses it. And today I even asked her if she cares that she doesn't watch TV anymore. And I told her she doesn't have to tell me yes just to please me, because we never judge her on her answers, whatever they are. And she told me that she does not miss it because we do a lot of things together now. And that is something that we noticed, is that we spend so much more time like interacting with her and just spending time with her in general, because we don't watch TV. Even just us, like at night, you know, we would be in one room watching TV, like our grown-up shows, and she would be in the other room watching her little kid shows, and or she would be like in there like playing games or something like that. But now we don't have that, where, you know, we're so separated, and all of our attention can really go to her. So we're just doing a lot more things together and focusing more of our attention and energy on her rather than putting it into something that doesn't really matter. When she gets to a certain age, of course, if she wants to go partake in that and she's old enough to make that decision for herself and go find that source of entertainment, she's more than welcome to, because she's her own person and she's free to make her own decisions at that point. But before then, it's our job to provide her with the best start that we can, and showing her all of these things and filling her mind with all of this stuff is not giving her the best start. Even she had a lot of games when she was really little that were like the dress-up ones or putting on makeup, things like that. So we're teaching them at even a super young age, because these games are meant for little kids, because it's easy, you know, like drag different clothes on them and just like touch different places to put the makeup. So it's really easy for kids to do, and she was playing these when she was 2.5, 3 years old. So we're even teaching them then how to, you know, that we need makeup and that we need to dress like this and that we need material things, and we're creating that separation even more between male and female, that females have to do all these things and males don't. There was even one with shaving, actually, that she had on her iPad, where you like shave the legs on like the girl that was on there. Just ridiculous things like that that don't even matter. So we really don't see it as that we are controlling her by not allowing her to use these types of entertainment, because we don't see it as something that is a positive entertainment. We would rather, just because everybody else is watching TV and that's the normal thing to do, is to just sit there in front of the TV and soak all that stuff in, we don't feel the need to do that, and we have found that she has improved so much more without using those things.
Right, because when a child is, or anyone even, is learning what they're told instead of actually exploring and figuring out for their own, they lose their sense of themselves and the sense of creativity, which is ourselves, basically. And that's what's going on with children when they're sitting there watching TV. They're being told what to learn, because a lot of people say that they're learning all these things, but it's nothing that they had chosen to learn yet. If they wanted to learn it, they would have learned it. It's very easy for children to learn when they want to learn something. But once they get doctrined into having to be taught something, to learn something that they can't learn on their own, that's how you are through the rest of your life then. It's all setting you up to become a citizen in our society. That's what all of these different things are for.
Right, and that was the thing that we thought was good, because we were getting like the educational apps, and not in the beginning we weren't, but then later on when we started changing, we're like, well, maybe she doesn't need, you know, like these silly ones that are like the dress up and stuff like that. Maybe we could get like educational ones. And so everyone was saying, oh, she's so smart, you know, she knows this, she can, you know, like count this high, and she can start writing and things like that. Well, first of all, the counting, like that's something that only matters in our school system, or like the ABCs or something like that. These things we consider kids being smart, or, you know, like really smart if they know them at a really young age, but really she could have been growing. It would have been probably better for her to grow creatively and using her imagination more at that time than it was for her to be getting this kind of useless information. And it really was useless at the time too, because she wasn't even in school or anything like that. But we just thought it was great because she was so young, and everyone kept telling us how smart she was and everything like that, which she is very intelligent, but we don't measure intelligence by a textbook, by somebody telling you that, you know, oh, if you can write this, this, and this, or do this, this, and this, then you're smart, then you get an A, and you don't get an F, you're not a failure. We see it as that she can think for herself and formulate her own opinions and thoughts and use that in the world rather than just follow what, you know, like the standard is in the school system and taking tests and things like that. It's more important for her to go out and experience things, and I think you learn more from experiencing rather than from just information that somebody gives you. So when we finally stopped like letting her pretty much watch shows and play games, which it wasn't a big deal, I guess, because of how gradual we did it. You know, we would go down to like, we were at like 3 shows a day, and then 2 shows a day, and then 1, and then it would be like 3 times a week or something like that. And then it would just like, you know, gradually she just filled her time in with other things, and she didn't even care about it anymore. We noticed though now that she hasn't had anything. She is like extremely imaginative and creative. She like draws and tells these stories and runs around and plays all day long, and like she can make up games for me and her to play that they like really make sense. And I'm amazed at how she even like thinks of these things, but I think it's because she's not being she's not using her time in these like useless entertainment outlets. She's using it creatively.
Right,
really.
She's not stuck in a structure that she thinks in. She creatively uses her own intelligence that only she has to create things that only she can create.
Right.
She's not trying to do something with someone else's structure that has been created. The other thing I wanted to say is, actually, I don't have to say anything else.
Oh, I was just going to say that we're all, that's the thing, like when he was saying that she came up with, because we're all unique, and which is something that we really try and teach her too, that every single person is different, and we're all unique and hold all these different characteristics and personalities and things like that. But kids aren't able to express that because of everything that they're immersed in. And once they're removed from that, they're really able to show everything that they have to give. And I don't know, I just think that it's the complete opposite of controlling by us not letting her pretty much be brainwashed by all these different things like the TV and games and I don't know what else is there. Music, stuff like that.
Even books, unfortunately. She does like to read though, so we do let her read some books, but we try to look over them ourselves first to make sure there's nothing that is very suggestive or emotional, people getting mad. Because in stories, that's one common thing, is there has to be some type of negativity in the middle of it, otherwise it's not a good story, people say. Which any story that has any type of negativity or controversy is teaching kids to do that. It's not just showing them the story. Kids pick out on the little things that are in everything because they're that intuitive and precise with what they're doing and looking at it. They notice the little things that you don't notice anymore because you think they're normal, but they're not normal to them, so they very much pick up on them.
Right, so we noticed she's never really been big on like throwing tantrums and stuff like that. I mean, we've gone through like different phases, but she's always been pretty, she's a very good kid, especially since we changed her diet and since we like stopped watching TV and things like that. But now she's reading chapter books, and a lot of the younger kids' chapter books are there's always, usually it's a female character, and she's usually acting a certain way. So we noticed that she started acting out and like throwing tantrums and stuff, things that she had never really done before. And in the books, the little girls would throw tantrums or be mad if something didn't go their way and things like that. So it's not just them watching, it's just anything that they're absorbing. That's how they'll act. So it's very hard. I tried to find a lot of, because she just like reads all the time and really, really loves it. Which is probably, I have read to her from a young age, so that's probably most likely where it came from. But it's really hard to find books that do not have that conflict that he was talking about in it. There's always some kind of conflict, and that's something that we're trying to teach her, that we don't have to have conflict, that there's no reason to have divide of anything. There's no good or bad or right or wrong. You know, everything just is. And we really haven't found anything. There's been a couple books that I have found that somebody just like wrote by themselves. That's not like a big publisher, but it's not chapter books. So we're still looking for those, but that was something that we noticed with her as well.
Mm-hmm. The same content that your children are taking in, it's the same thing that we are taking in as adults. There's no difference, but that's why we ourselves don't partake in any of it either, because we see the coding in it, basically. I mean, it's put out in a way with this nice,
agenda,
pretty shine over it, and there's an agenda behind it. There's a reason that everything is happening how it is, and that everything is going on and being put out, the dates is being put out on, and everything. There's a reason for all of it. Most people don't look into most of it because they're too busy using their time and energy just to watch it.
Right, so that's a good point. I would say that it would be considered controlling if we were partaking in these different things, but not allowing her to. So we even like limit our time. He uses his computer for work since he's an IT tech, so he's on it quite a bit. But if I do go on the computer, like sometimes I watch YouTube videos, I'm very particular, well, both of us do. We're very particular about what we watch, and she's also allowed to watch them with us. So it's nothing that's like a kid's show or anything like that. It's usually something that's very positive and what we would consider positive and uplifting, and something that would benefit us in some way. But otherwise, we are not using we do not do like games, or we don't watch TV or anything like that. So she doesn't So just because, it's not just because we're telling her that she can't do it. We also believe that it is not good for us either, so we are not doing it. We're her example. We never just say, you do this because we're the parents and that's why. There's always a reason behind it, and we always explain it to her. Is that it?
Yep.
Alright, so if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.